Okay, this is mushroom journey number 9, and as to date, this is the last one. And there was something kind of the same but very unique about this journey. Something clearly broke. Something, I'm not sure how to put into words. It's like the band-aid of the universe got ripped off or something, and the mushrooms just got on with it. Or how it is, maybe you're making a recipe and for a long time you follow the instructions, but it just becomes intuitive to you now. There's something intuitive about it. Or maybe in school you're trying to solve some problem or learn about something and you understand it, but you still kind of have to methodically go through some process just to make sure you get it right. And then could be a different time when you just know it intuitively, or learning how to run a piece of equipment, or however it may be. There's a difference between knowing something kind of in a instructional way, and there's something knowing it kind of through and through without a shadow of a doubt. And there was something, it seemed like that in a way that kind of was accomplished on this journey. It was kind of the extremes of all the journeys. It was at first as dark as any dark and hard and difficult bad trip was, and then it transformed into the most illuminating and bright of experiences. It's really quite something. I was alone this trip. Allison and Esther were visiting Lauren in Toronto, and so I was alone. So right at the beginning, I remember I texted Hope, our daughter. I just sort of wanted to make a connection with someone. And I didn't tell her, but I think psychologically I was kind of afraid and bracing myself for what was to come, sort of unconsciously. And so right at the beginning, I texted her, and it wasn't till a few hours later, midday, that I was able to text her again. But the beginning was I was just thrust into this torrent again. Just how I explained other bad trips. It was just a breaking and a breaking, and you feel there's some sort of awareness that has hit rock bottom, and then the ground gives away and you fall some more, and you feel kind of awareness has hit, there is nothing more dark in all the multiverse than this, and then the ground gives away and you fall more. And kind of the lesson is there is really no hanging on. There is nothing to, I kind of, there's a sense where you feel the mushrooms are kind of getting on with the task. It's like some hard task, like, maybe in wartime when they're amputating some soldier's limb and he's just screaming in the most horrible of agony, but, the doctor just gets on with it, And it was just really dark like that. And I remember the passing of time again was just excruciatingly long, it was early in the morning, maybe 9:15. You kind of come to and you check the clock, and then you're lost again, marooned and being crushed and torn apart. Again, it's not so much the individual of me, Steve. In a way, it's that getting blown a bit, but you sort of become the storm. You become the torrent. You become the hurricane. And it lasts for eternity, and you come back and check the clock, and it's like 9:18. So kind of similar in that way to how other trips were, in the dark way. There's this place in Jasper National Park called Athabasca Falls. It's this where the river comes, and it's kind of a tourist spot. And there's just this amazing, just extremely powerful torrent of these falls that fall. And just you can just feel it, and they've built up kind of things where you can stand close to it and you just feel the spray. And it's really amazing to be quite close to something like that natural phenomenon. It's just so powerful and sort of intimate in a way. You can get right up close to the power of it, and it's quite impressive. And this is one thought or analogy I came to. It's kind of like I was standing at the bottom of Athabasca Falls, and all there is to do is to take it. All there is to do is just to take it in, just to experience. The experiencing of the universe itself in a way. And remember this just being just such a powerful, enduring experience. And and I knew, coming back to myself, I knew it was a bright sunny day. And so the thought came to me, follow the sun, follow the sun. And really from here on in, the sun was just a transformational. I can't describe how powerful the brightness, the lightness, the warmth of the sun was. It's hard for me to imagine ever having another mushroom journey without it being a sunny day or being in a sunny space or a warm, it was amazing. And so I was in this one room, and it was still kind of early, and so kind of where I've had most of my journeys was in this one bedroom, and the sun kind of streams into there 10:30ish or 11. And I remember in my mind thinking, okay, I gotta switch and go to this room where I know the sun will be. And in normal kind of thinking, you know, this might take you 5 minutes. You got a few blankets, a pillow, the music, you know, you could move it over less than 5 minutes and you could be all set up there. I think it probably took me close to 2 hours to do this. You know, I'd kind of come back into this universe and just kind of like, oh, and get a pillow and stumble away, and then kind of get lost again. And then, you know, in real time, maybe 20 minutes later, it's kind of, oh yeah, and you get going. So it took me, hour and a half to 2 hours to make this transition. And by that time, it might have been, the sun was just starting to come in, and I lay down on the floor and put my head kind of on the carpet just so the sun could hit me. And this was the beginning of a transformation, probably for the next hour. My body, you have to understand this is physically draining. You know, your heart's beating, and it's kind of like, sometimes you can't exactly sense your body, but you have this kind of sixth sense. You know your body is under a tremendous amount of strain. You know, like if you're afraid, for example, and just something startles you, your body just doesn't, oh, it's okay, really. Your body just doesn't in 2 seconds de-escalate. You know, your heart's bumping. It takes a while to kind of transition for something like that. And so you're in this emotional strain and starting to feel the healing effects of the sun. It took a while. There was kind of this transitional period where the sun was turning all of this chaos back into this beautiful music of the cosmos. And this too is not unlike other trips I've had, but there was something just starkly clear about this, both how straining and hard it was, and how just the stark clarity of the unity that the sun was able to weave out of that. It was actually quite shocking to me in a way, and in just sort of this very clear-eyed way, how amazed I was at that. And here, this is around between 12 and 1, I think. This is where kind of the eureka moment happened for this trip. This was the pinnacle, and it almost feels like the pinnacle of all my previous trips combined kind of were serving to present this moment, this eureka moment. And it was very much like awareness was brought out of time to the place between the universes, or I traveled back in time to before the Big Bang to discover what it was, what was there before the Big Bang, or what is there after the universe ends. And it's hard to put into words, but it's very viscerally and very clearly what was seen, what was known was us. It was us. I kind of traveled to before the Big Bang, to that space outside of time, to that space between the universes, and what I found was myself and you. We were there smiling at ourselves. It was a mind-blowing experience. Very, I'm not sure what the word, very calming, very grounding, very just like, wow, very, very euphoric. It's kind of like we are the ones setting this all thing in motion, and we are the ones to which it will return. It kind of echoes back to that trip where, I was talking about this campfire in between universes, where we have all these experiences, and then when it's all over, we all gather again at the campfire. It has a similar ring to it as that. And I remember I was able to take a selfie, and I sent it to Hope and saying, I may not have told her at that time. I don't know. You can't. So I started texting her again at this time. And the only way that would work is with the autocorrect feature, because you just can't. You're just not coherent enough. And so you can type in one letter, and maybe, it'll suggest the word, and yeah, that's the word I want. That's about all you could do, but I just remember very distinctly, it's kind of like, this was kind of the apex almost of all my mushroom journeys, including the dark ones, including the very challenging dark one I had, or was transitioning out of even this very morning. It's just seeing what was there, what got the Big Bang going, what was there before time, and it was us. And this, I don't know, man. It's hard to explain the depth of the experience, the clarity of it, and whatnot. Again, I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything. I'm just trying to tell you my story as best you can, either for your entertainment or edification, however it may be. But this was the pinnacle of pinnacles, of discoveries. And here again is where the music just, wow. It happened on this previous journey I had, but here too, the music, what words can I say? It was just a personification, an expression of this underlying somethingness of the whole universe itself, this vision of the time out of time. And there's many songs. I have this mushroom playlist that I've used and edited and add or subtract to, and I would say 90% of the music is instrumental, although just so there's kind of reasons for that, but there are also a few vocal ones and upbeat ones, and I remember the song Humans by the Killers. This came on, and I've heard this on a few of my mushroom trips, and there's a handful of songs I've heard, and they just, when I hear them, they strike a different chord. They bring me back to this euphoric memory, or at least an echo of it, that is so deeply profound. That was a song. There's a few other songs very similar to that. Losing My Head by 1975 was another. But I could list many dozens of songs, but these kind of as an example. So I think it's kind of the contrast, you know, these lyrical songs, the songs with voices. Most of the songs I listened to were instrumental, and I think very skillfully so, and I still like that very much. They're not intrusive, but they're extremely helping the process along. But then you get this just, you know, some really kind of positive, upbeat song with vocals, and it can just kind of take it up another level. But you can't just have that all the time sort of thing. But just love the music. And I started texting Hope. I think I probably texted her song titles and stuff all along. And just every so often she would just text me something back. And it was such a wonderful connection. I remember one time her and Shiny sent a picture of themselves kind of like cheering me on. Wow. And back in Toronto, my other family members knew I was on this trip, and they sent me a short video. Hey, Dad, we're just love you. And wow, it was just such perfect timeliness of loveliness. And I just felt such an outpouring of love to them and to my wife, Esther. And you know, as much as the dark experiences, you know, you have to pay for these experiences sometime. And it's like, think of the worst experiences you've ever had or imagined or friends have had. And at least in my knowing, these mushroom experiences on a bad trip, they can be so much worse that you can't even imagine. But they can also be so much more clarifying at the other end. It's just, and it's almost like that's the toll sometimes. You can't guarantee what would happen, but just a wonderful experience there in the sun, the power of the sun. Wow, I feel just so akin to the sun, just like a plant growing and just loving it. So I very much feel that this door kind of has been kicked open in my mind. There's this doorway, this clarity of being. It's just been thrust open, and kind of like I just have to look over my shoulder and just be reminded of it. Kind of in a sense to not take myself so seriously, not to be so caught up in it, and no matter what the circumstance of life is. And it almost underlines the mundaneness of life, the paying the bills, the picking a tomato out of the garden, cleaning the bathroom, whatever chore it may be, trying to communicate with someone who doesn't understand you. And these are all challenging and hard things at times, or we can kind of get ourselves lost in them, lost in kind of what's the purpose of life, or relationships can be hard, or what have you. But to me, it feels like there's this doorway that's been open, and there's sunlight pouring in. And it's hard to say it in a rational way, as many of these experiences are. It's not about intellectually understanding, but it's just kind of a knowing of experiencing that kind of calibrates your thinking, calibrates your emotions, calibrates the lightness of life. And just want to shout out to Hope, how timely her interactions were. Every once in a while she'd respond to one of my texts just with a cheerful or encouraging note. I was just so timely and perfect. And I'm not sure if I'll have another mushroom journey. I may in the future, but it kind of feels like, you know, there's, you know, you put the bread in the oven, and when it's cooked, you take it out. You don't need to leave it in any longer. And so, you know, there's hopefully many years ahead of me. You know, there's a possibility I'll have more of these experiences, but at least for the time being, it feels like it's sort of come full circle. And I feel I have traversed across the ocean of the cosmos and touched the beginning of the universe. And I've seen there what is there to see. And I've traveled back again across that sea. And I feel akin to the sun itself, like I'm shining. And just in a few moments, oh, there it comes. The sun's coming over the rooftop. And just the sun itself is a reminder of this trip for me. And it's something I feel I must be one of the most lucky conscious beings in the whole universe, I believe. And for just even a glimpse of an experience like this. And wishing you all well. Hopefully you've gotten some out of these stories, either entertainment value or some sort of inspiration, maybe, perhaps. This is partly why I'm share. I know it's very edifying to me to kind of try to articulate these experiences. It brings me back and reminds me of that open door with the sunlight pouring in, and to give me courage just to get up and get on with things, even if it's something I don't like. And cheers to you all.